And we are live.
Welcome back.
Sorry. No, you're good. Welcome back to another live stream, folks. We appreciate you being here. Today, we're going to focus on copaganda. Copaganda is not a term that I believe is covered under the dictionary, but it is something relevant to everything that you see on both my DirectD channel and Jim Freedom's channel. By the way, I have Jim Freedom up here with me today. Be sure to subscribe.
Hit the like, follow, all that good stuff. We're going to get into it today. We're going to show you how the media does it, how they copagandize you. That's a word in all of our dictionaries.
Yeah, it's media programming that's been going on for a long time, and the only real pushback against it has been within the last, 15, 20 years or so, give or take, with the rise of the internet and social media and your people's individual ability to post, the reality of certain situations as opposed to just absorbing what the news feeds to you through the little bubble and 2.5 minutes of your time. So,
yes, sir.
The little bubble known as the TV.
I think a lot of people appreciate, that's why a lot of people have been going to places like YouTube and other social medias for their news outlets from people like us, because we don't just feed them the 5 minutes of what narrative we want them to focus on really quick. We really dive in. We spend 20 or 30 minutes explaining situations that have circumstances that need explained. You know, we don't like to brush over relevant facts that change the entire story, because most of the time it involves the government being deceitful and taking advantage of you. That's what the mainstream doesn't want to show.
Right, I agree. I totally agree. And part of that has been not only mainstream, but TV shows like Law and Order, Blue Bloods, Live Patrol, Alaska Cops, the Cops Show. All this stuff has been social programming for you to be desensitized to violent police behavior, to the improportionate amount of arrests that happen towards, African American and Hispanic cultures. There's all kinds of different things that can be said, and we'll get into that. But today there's a video that I want to watch that covers this quite spectacularly. I was going to make a similar video, and then I watched this and figured, well, shit, I'll just watch it live with my subscribers and somebody that wants to come up, Jim Freedom.
Oh, yeah.
Love so the channel's name is called Skip Intro. I'll kind of show you what it looks like right here. This is the channel name. It's called Skip Intro, and it's his most recent video titled Cops Wasn't Canceled, It Just Mutated. And this is true. Everybody believes the Cops show was canceled, but it wasn't canceled. It was sold to another network and is still active today. And a lot can be said about what we're doing, but what these shows are actually doing, any kind of live broadcast or dramatization of serious events where people's freedoms and lives are at stake, is capitalizing off of another person's misfortune. And that's exactly what these shows aim to do, while also glorifying the police to make you believe that everything is normal. And I can sum it up in my own words, but this dude puts it into a perspective that, I've rarely seen other people put it into. So unless you have something to say, Jim, I'm going to roll this.
No, I actually haven't watched it yet, so I'm excited to see it, and I'm going to be reacting live basically with all the commenters that haven't seen it also. So roll tape.
All right. Cool.
After a 2 years on TV, it's been canceled. Deadline reports that Paramount has ended the show Cops because of George Floyd's death and protests against police brutality.
Paramount pulled Cops last month when protests aimed at police first began, but then yesterday, the move was made permanent.
Is this now the end of police-based reality shows? Because Cops, one of the longest-running TV shows, has been canceled in the wake of George Floyd's death.
Do you remember this? Let me jog your memory. The year is 2020. President Donald Trump is smack dab between his 2 impeachment trials. There's this disease that people are catching from drinking too much Corona beer or something. I don't know, I'm not a doctor. And it's everywhere. Suddenly, we have a lot of time on our hands to think about the world around us. And then, Minneapolis police officer Derek Chauvin kills George Floyd. You probably remember all of this. You might even remember the public outcry, the largest protest movement in American history. In that outcry, among many things, there was a call for better police media. Maybe, the thinking went, we hadn't been aware of how bad things were with issues of police brutality because of the TV shows we watch and the specific vision of policing that they promote. First under the microscope, Cops. You ever heard of that one?
Bad boys, what you gonna do? What you gonna do when they come for you?
This video is sponsored by Mubi, a curated streaming service showing exceptional films from around the globe. Get a whole month free at mubi.com/skipintro. The show Cops was kind of an obvious starting place for this discussion. Even if you haven't watched a single episode, its cultural impact has been unavoidable for the last 3 decades, parodied in movies.
Time for the men in steel to teach these madcap mammals their devil-may mare attitudes just won't fly.
TV shows.
Bad cops, bad cops. Bad cops, bad cops.
And you're probably even humming the theme song to yourself right now. I mean, even babies know it.
Bad boy, what you do? Come for you.
What you gonna do when
Pause it. Can you pause it real quick?
But there was also certainly a lot of pushback to this idea of
that's actually kind of literally the point of that we're making. You know what I mean? The conditioning of that, just to the mantra of a song about cops. You know what I mean? And there was another video that kid reminded me of on the internet of an app that parents are giving their kids now, where it fake calls 911, and they give their kid the phone and it acts like a cop is talking to their kid and scaring them for being bad or whatever. What? I was like, yeah, it's disgusting, man. That's what that reminded me of. And that it all plays along to the theme of that it's all used as conditioning to desensitize you and to program you to think of them as some kind of superior force that you don't question, you know. That's all.
Yeah. You ain't lying.
Media criticism.
I mean, I can't speak for black people. Again, if I felt that the cops were out to get me in any sort of way, what I would want there is more cameras, more body cameras.
I think it's just the way they glorified the cops. And it was like, bad boys, what you gonna do when they come for you? It was never about just like, I'm an unbiased viewer. It was like the bad boys, the cops. Do you know what I mean a little bit? How it's
change the theme song.
Yeah.
Oh my God. How do we not think of changing the song? That should fix it. So Paramount made the moral choice and did more than just change the theme song. They canceled Cops.
No, they didn't.
No, they didn't. They just sold it to Fox Nation. It's alive and well, airing its 36th season right now. And it's not the only reality cop show whose demise was maybe a little exaggerated in 2020.
First, it was the show Cops, and now A&E has canceled the police reality series Live PD. It's one of the latest cop shows to get pulled from TV as protests continue over the George Floyd death.
This is Live PD, which is basically Cops, but instead of edited and produced segments, the show is live. We'll get to those air quotes, don't worry. Live PD is kind of the next logical step in the genre's evolution. It launched in 2016 after the beginning of the Black Lives Matter movement, after Ferguson and Baltimore and Eric Garner, and marketed itself as part of that conversation, promising accountability and transparency.
The fact that we're going to see this as it's happening, you know, there's a national debate going on about how police do what they do. More police departments around the country are embracing body cams. Why? Transparency.
Alas, for all that talk of transparency, in 2020, Live PD did get canceled. Although it wasn't just because of the George Floyd protests. Turns out the show had recorded the police killing of Javier Ambler in Texas and then deleted the footage before it could be reviewed by Internal Affairs. Whoopsie. A&E decided, hey, maybe the show is more trouble than it's worth, and
oh, imagine that. Yeah. The TV show's out with the cops and recorded them committing a murder, and then they delete all the footage. I wonder why they don't like us recording them. You know what I mean?
Right. Because we won't delete the footage. You're only allowed to record if you signed a paper ahead of time. I guarantee you that live PD staff all signed paperwork saying, yeah, we will get on our knees and beg your forgiveness if we accidentally record you doing something you don't want us to.
We're gonna get into that. That's part of the agreement on how these shows get inside access. That's why I like this video. It hits all the points. It makes everything make sense.
He's reading my mind. Let's do it.
Canceled it. Like, they actually canceled it.
And at that point, A&E was kind of just like, okay, we're not going to be in this business. George Floyd is happening. This is here. We're just going to cancel live PD. There's likely a bit of, taking advantage of the moment as well.
Right.
This is a show that was creating liabilities and hassle for them, but like Paramount, kind of recognizing, people don't like this right now.
That's Sean Campbell, an investigative journalist who's reported on the fall of reality cop shows, as well as the fact that they never seem to stay dead. Because in 2022, a new show popped up called On Patrol Live, featuring the same concept, the same set, the same hosts. Hell, it's actually currently being sued by A&E for copyright infringement.
What On Patrol Live does is many, many steps removed from just copying the basic concept. This was what the judge said about On Patrol Live when On Patrol tried to dismiss under this concept lawsuit. Because On Patrol Live copies nearly every single element in the same manner, coordination, and arrangement as Live PD, the court does not hesitate to find that the works are substantially similar. On look alone, the two shows are virtually indistinguishable.
On Patrol Live, or Live PD, whatever you want to call it. Throughout this video, I'm going to refer to the franchise as On Patrol Live PD because it reminds me of that Adult Swim parody cop show, NTSFSD SUV. Anyways, On Patrol Live runs on Reels, which is a TV channel, and not some fishing company that sells Bratz-themed merchandise. The show has been a massive hit for the channel. In 2023, On Patrol Live had boosted Reels viewership by 34%, producing nearly 6 hours of live content per week. Seriously, this show puts out an absolutely absurd volume of content. In just the 2 years it's been on the air, it's already racked up more than 170 episodes, each running between 2 and 3 hours. And forget being renewed for a measly season, Reels has already purchased 90 more episodes of the TV show. As it turns out, these reality cop shows never died. They just mutated. Welcome to Copaganda, a series of videos exploring the portrayal of the police on television and how that portrayal has shaped our understanding of who the police are and what they should be.
That's my exact point right there. These shows, Cops, Blue Bloods, Law and Order, all of them have shaped our collective understanding and perception of how the police are viewed and interacted with in reality, when it's all fake and scripted and none of it has to do with reality.
Right.
This is some scary shit right here. The way he breaks this down and shows you how the most innocent seeming TV show on ABC or Fox or something can literally be programming material to make you think that what you're watching is normal.
Yep. 100%.
B. There's a playlist around here somewhere. Turns out, a lot of cop shows. For example, on the air in prime time right now on 4 major networks. Starting on Sunday, you got The Equalizer, CSI Vegas, Tracker, NCIS, NCIS Hawaii, Special Forces, World's Toughest Test, America's Most Wanted, FBI, FBI International, FBI Most Wanted, FBI True, The Rookie, Will Trent, Alert Missing Persons Unit, Police 24/7, 911 Lone Star, and we've only made it to Tuesday. You've also got Chicago PD, Walker, SEAL Team, Law & Order SVU, Law & Order Organized Crime, SWAT, and not to mention Blue Bloods. Who could forget Blue Bloods? Not this guy.
But if he's using his authority to seduce a young cop, I can't just look the other way. Right?
Not in this day and age.
Point is, there are a lot of cop shows on TV, but so far all the shows we've talked about in this series have been narrative fiction. And there are 2 major reasons for that. First, I didn't want to watch Cops or On Patrol Live. It seemed really depressing. And for what it's worth, I was wrong. These shows aren't really depressing. They're fucking demoralizing. But more importantly, I think a lot of people have some understanding that a show like Cops is exploitative. After all, these are real people.
You know, he touches on a good point right there, but doesn't dive into it. These shows are extremely demoralizing because well, only thing that, you know, the simplest mind can perceive from watching this is you must obey or else bad things will happen to you. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. They pick all the perfect scenarios to, like, if it's like they're trying to attach, if anybody else in the general public has been anywhere close to any of these situations, it's trying to scare the crap out of them. If you're ever in that situation again, you know what I mean? Like, most people can relate to a lot of these situations.
Oh, yeah.
And they're really driving it home that, you know, submit or die.
Yeah, seriously.
Getting arrested for our entertainment, not just some random character actor making a questionable career choice. In 2020, people were a lot more on the fence about a show like Brooklyn Nine-Nine, which is why I started there first. And I think there's a lot to be said for analyzing these shows and using them as case studies in order to understand how rampant our myths about the police really are. But these nonfiction cop shows are a completely different animal. For starters, people believe that they're real.
And also, based on my survey research, people really do seem to respond to that sort of verisimilitude. Like, people seem to think it's a really accurate, real-time representation of what is happening on a typical night of policing.
That's Dr. Emma Rackstraw.
And I am an economist by training. And I study the criminal justice system, the labor market, and the ways that they intersect with one another. So
I called her up to ask about the way these shows not only impact audience perceptions, but also the communities being policed while these shows are filming.
My top line findings are, I find that police basically start making significantly more discretionary arrests for very low level victimless crimes, things like drug possession and loitering and vagrancy, when the cameras arrive.
So let's talk about these two franchises.
Now, if you didn't catch what she said that arrests for low-level petty offenses goes up when these shows come around and are recording. So, meaning that officers are thinking that this is some spotlight event for them to showcase how badass they are at imprisoning people and sending them to a place they don't want to be against their will, and then making them pay money to get out of the situation is cool. And they take it as a tryout event of some a tyrant tryout when the cameras come around, cops and shit.
Yeah, they truly are incentivizing the cops to go create issues that they can put on TV, that they can, you know, profit from.
Oh, absolutely. And that's another thing is people talk shit to us about, you're just doing this for clicks and views and to make money. But literally the news that they have such ties with or that they love watching, Fox 10, you know what I mean? All these channels have monetized police interactions. So who's doing it for the clicks and the views? They're not trying to change anything. They're trying to convince you that what is happening is normal and that it's okay, while they are profiting off of it, while complaining that we are profiting off of holding police accountable and trying to be an activist. Now that's a clusterfuck right there. I hope you can weave through that mess of bullshit.
Yeah, it's a mind fuck for sure. It's mind blowing.
Crazy, dude. He points a lot of shit out. I think this. I'm not going to watch the full thing. Obviously, I'm probably going to watch about half of it, and I'll leave it at a tantalizingly I don't know, a segue to the end where you're going to want to go and watch the rest of it, basically. But it's really good, and we're going to get back into it.
Cops and On Patrol: Live: PD. How has the genre evolved? What message do these shows send to their audiences about the police? And perhaps most crucially, since these are real people, what kind of impact do they have on real police officer behavior in the communities they document? Cops began in 1989 on the Fox network, which is an unfathomably long time ago in TV terms. That's before Law & Order or The Simpsons. Cops is old enough to run for president if it wanted to, and let's be real, it would definitely beat those two geriatric meat puppets. If you're unfamiliar with the show, first of all, I don't believe you. But here's a summary. The show sends out a cameraman and a sound guy with some cops. They record police interactions and then produce 3 segments in each half-hour episode. The police encounters shown to the audience are clearly edited, but they have a real sense of authenticity. The cameras are handheld, the emotions present feel very real, and we all know that there are actual stakes. These people are facing real consequences.
Okay, you're gonna go to jail tonight for possession of controlled substance.
And study after study has proven that this format is far more effective in shaping opinions of the police than narrative TV. And that's the stated goal of Cops. As John Langley, the creator and longtime executive producer of the show, said in an interview with the Running from Cops podcast, his show could or should be interpreted as a documentary.
Bam. They admit it. They openly talk about it. It is meant to manipulate your perception. It was a cool show. I watched it for sure, and I definitely had a different perception of the police until I actually had my own encounters as somebody who wasn't a criminal. You know what I'm saying?
Till that crazy reality monster came along.
Bro, they admit it. It's crazy. And the news is still doing a subtle version of this today. Most of the news.
This is as real as we can get it. I see it as a documentary.
This is the kind of thing you'll hear from a lot of creators of these shows, that they're just showing things the way they are. Hell, they even put acts of police brutality in just to keep the police in check.
Well, back up a moment. We have shown all kinds of things that I didn't approve of, but I wanted to show.
Tell me.
Well, I mean, like cops being too rough in a takedown or being unreasonable with the suspect. That happens. So, I mean, I want to show what happens to the greatest extent possible.
Now, these are what we call in the business lies. They're lies. That podcast I mentioned, Running from Cops, great podcast. You should really check it out. They go into way more detail about cops than I will be able to in this video. They compiled statistics from over 800 episodes of the series across its 3+ decades and found a number of stats that are being massively distorted by the show. For example, 84% of interactions on Cops end in an arrest. And that number is on the rise, going from just 61% in season 2 to 95% by season 30. In real life, only 2% of police interactions end in an arrest. Well, yeah, they've got to make TV. Who wants to watch the police not arresting people? What's wrong with that? I don't know what that accent was. I'm sorry.
And that's just such a massive distortion of reality. You know, most reported crimes in the United States go unsolved, and police officers really infrequently make arrests.
According to Dr. Rackstraw's research, this distortion has real consequences to viewers. In her study, people who watched clips ending in an arrest estimated a significantly higher clearance rate than people who watched a clip that didn't end in one, exacerbating an already striking disconnect between perception and reality, with most people overestimating the number of arrests the average officer makes in a year by an order of magnitude. Most police officers don't actually make arrests as frequently as most people assume, with conservatively high estimates placing that national average around 12 to 14 arrests per year. Okay, so that's not exactly how it is it? What about the types of crimes? Cops massively overrepresents violent crime, drug crime, and prostitution, making up roughly 58% of arrests on the show according to Running from Cops, despite making up just 17% of actual arrests. But the biggest criticism of Cops has been there since the very beginning, that it's racist. A 1998 study of the show by scholars Paul Kuistra, John Mahoney, and Sandra Westervelt found that non-white suspects outpaced white suspects, while over 62% of officers were white and white victims outnumbered non-white victims. This combination of racial distortion and overrepresentation of violent crime seems to, as they write, quote, suggest are acts of irrational and often drug-induced evil committed by dark-skinned males and promiscuous females. These lawbreakers are a breed of humans different from us who reject many of our cherished social values.
Jesus.
Yeah, that's what the fuck, bro. That's some crazy shit. But that is not just a perception that you're reading on the screen, read by some dude on another YouTube channel. That is like legitimately how a lot of police think. I mean, even city council people have made comments on the internet about anybody that comes in and speaks negatively is one of those pitchfork people. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah, they think of us as like she's like whatever they said, not human. You know, different.
Yeah, dude. A different class of people that gets treated differently, and that's where you hear that there's two sets of laws. The justice system doesn't work the way that it's supposed to, because it doesn't, and there is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, it was so bad that even the producers admit that the show was kind of racist back in the 90s, identifying it as something that they had to change.
The NAACP called up to Fox Network and said, you guys, you're portraying all criminals as black. So, you know, we kind of like, well, there's a disproportionate number. But, you know, it's like, but then we said, oh, wait a minute, they're actually right. So, you know, then there was this frantic search for find us white criminals, find us like, where's the white criminals, white hotheads, white trash, white something, you know?
What?
I guess that's better? While Cops deserves very minimal credit for getting their overall race numbers in line with national averages, 28% of arrests are black men or women on the show versus 29% in real life, the show front-loads those arrests, especially violent and drug crime, to the point where 48% of all arrests of black people suspected for a drug crime occur before the first commercial break. And let me tell you, nobody watches to the end. It's why you have crypto bros with no self-awareness posting Wolf of Wall Street memes. Or, you know, dudes unironically thinking.
So what he's saying is basically that they got caught being racist. They agreed not to do it. They searched for white criminals to arrest. But in an attempt to avert their agreement not to showcase a disproportionate amount of arrests towards people of color, what they did is they placed the arrest of people in color in the beginning of the show, knowing that that's going to get the most attention, the most viewer rate, and have the most impact on the audience in terms of manipulating them, as they were attempting to do, showcasing the colored minority of, you know, civilization as the criminal, the drug inflamed, violent male kind of shit. Instead of just showing shit how it is, they put all that stuff in the beginning of the show, knowing click-through rates and audience attention, you know, watch how much you watch of the show. It's going to be the most in the beginning. It's essentially what he's telling you.
And what pisses me off the most about that guy is pointing out how he knows he was acting like, oh, actually they're right. He says, what they did later, putting them in the front, shows that they created their show with intention. It wasn't, you didn't need to be reminded of that and then look at it and say, oh, actually they're right. You knew they were right before they brought it to you, and you're full of crap on that interview. And even on that interview, he took the time and the opportunity to really sound racist. You know, we searched for white criminals like they couldn't be found even. Like, give me a break, dude, you know, when obviously the numbers show that they're all around, you know.
Yeah.
That guy
crazy, dude.
Fuck that guy.
And they do it willingly, knowingly. They're intentionally trying to manipulate you. Your parents, if you're young and your parents watch this show, that's not something you watch now. I mean, as a child growing up, I watched Cops. You know what I mean? So I remember the episodes I've watched, and I'm going to watch some episodes and point out shit to add credence to what the fuck we're talking about. But
for sure,
Patrick Bateman or Tyler Durden are role models. Hell, you know how I know nobody watches to the ends of things? Because I rarely get people to sign up for my Patreon when I plug it at the end. I mean, just look how much viewership drops off. I'm going to plug that shit now. Patreon.com/skipintro. Where was I? Even if Cops has gotten credit for its balancing of race, I would argue that it's still targeting a very specific class in America. Whether it's poor minorities or white trash, the show focuses on visible poverty and conflates it with crime. And that's a proven formula for amping up fear around crime. You can see the dynamic in Politico articles that are allegedly about crime, but prominently display homeless encampments in their thumbnail. And I think it's something that is especially prevalent in these reality cop shows, in a way that almost always serves to increase police budgets. Journalist Adam Johnson sums up this media phenomenon well, writing, quote, "The public discourse around visible poverty has been, as always, to turn to police, jails, and a deep bench of dead-eyed, careerist, tough-on-crime prosecutors and mayors. Our president talks nonstop about how much we need more police, how he can't wait to hand another $37 billion to the police. And our media puts all social ills into the vague bucket of public safety, with the parallel assumption that the solution is more police and longer sentences. The point is, Cops is a massive distortion, and because of its non-fiction format, viewers tend to think that they're watching something much more true to reality than it actually is. Cops also lets police departments review their footage before it makes it out over the airwaves, trading creative freedom for better access, with police letting camera crews into places they never let journalists. It's worth noting that no money changes hands between the production company and police departments, but this is what makes the relationship mutually beneficial. Although, again, producers have downplayed the amount of censorship the police can and do exercise on the show.
What do you give up for access?
We let them look at the shows, and if they have a real problem, we will change something. And I'll tell you, most people think, oh, there's something that went wrong and they want to hide it. That's not true. Mostly what they want to change is stupid stuff, like, well, that officer wasn't wearing his hat, and part of our regulation, so you have to wear your hat on duty. I've had that a lot. That's just part of the rules that you have to deal with when you're working with certain topics.
Access.
That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard.
Bro, they sign an agreement with these people to allow the police departments to alter their footage at will. Crazy.
And they call themselves journalists or press or whatever. It's a disgrace.
It's not even, this isn't even journalism or press. This is a reality entertainment TV show that they're creating. That's it.
Yeah, that's true.
Crazy.
Just like that is only gained when you can assure the police that they're going to come off as good and righteous. But there's another major lie that Cops needs to tell in order to be perceived as authentic and real. Here's a question. Have you ever wondered why people sign the release forms to be on the show? Like, who would want to be arrested by the police and then have it broadcast nationally? I mean, you're not going to look good. Producers will tell you that this is because people just want to be on TV, that we have a reality show culture, and, you know, other people are just really big fans of the show.
People sign surprisingly willingly.
They sign releases. Look at the crap you see on so-called reality TV, much of which is phony anyway. But look at how many people sign up and do stupid things, and most people who sign do so, you know, fully cognizant of what they're doing. At this stage of our show's life, people know the show and it has a certain pop cultural iconic value. And they'll say, get those news cameras away from me. Say, we're with the Cops crew. They go, oh, Cops.
But Running from Cops tracked down a bunch of people who appeared on the show, many of whom claimed they did not sign a release form. Others were inebriated beyond the point where they could even remember signing the forms. In fact, 24% of all people who appear on Cops are inebriated in some way during their police interaction. Others were tricked.
I think part of the time they might have been tricked to thinking that they were going to be released. Here, sign this release.
Others were harassed and lied to until they relented.
I want you to know how fucking sick that laugh is, that somebody thinks it's funny that another human being got tricked into believing that their freedom was going to be coming to them had they signed this piece of paper that this person's talking about.
Right.
Meaning, yeah, and if this dude was one of the ones trying to get signatures, he knew that people thought that they were going to get released. You know what I'm saying, dude? That's a sick individual that can laugh at something like that. It's not funny, dude. This shit's not funny at all.
Not at all. Like the other guy.
Here you're gonna go. You get to go home if you sign this paperwork, is what we're pretending to say, but really you don't get to go home.
I guarantee you they offered that, and the other guy chose his words very carefully and then breezed it away. He said most people just signed it willingly, and he never said anything about how they get the people that don't. He just said most people. That could be 51%. That means, you know, 1 out of every 2 aren't consenting, and you're coaxing them, tricking them, intimidating them into signing it for your show because you know it's going to be good content, make you look good. I guarantee you they were making deals that weren't legitimate.
Oh, he gets into that. There was a guy that basically says that the cop said, you either sign the release form or we're taking you to jail.
Yeah.
There's a case of that. Yeah.
Corey is now sitting in the back of a police car. The police still have not told him why they detained him in the first place. And then a producer from Cops comes up to the window and he says,
I need you to sign this release form or you're going to jail with a felony trespassing.
And others were coerced or threatened into signing either implicitly or explicitly.
But also, it's not super clear to me that anybody who's in handcuffs can provide informed consent.
Yeah.
They're going to feel like there is some amount of coercion.
Cops, and it was like, bad boys, what you gonna do when they come for you? It was never.
Oh, what happened? You backed it up.
Yeah, I messed it up. I just wanted to make a point that she was talking about coercion, and I totally forgot what I was going to say because I backed it up. Damn. How far in were we?
I don't know exactly because it's behind our pictures, so I haven't been able to see it for a while. Probably, well, how long have we been live? Doesn't show me a time either. That's crazy.
Or you're going to jail with a felony trespassing.
And others were coerced or threatened into signing either implicitly or explicitly.
But also, it's not super clear to me that anybody who's in handcuffs can provide informed consent.
Yeah.
They're going to feel.
It's not clear to me, but what is very clear is that somebody in handcuffs is under a de facto detention arrest. They are in the custody of the state. They cannot give informed consent or give nothing like that while they're in handcuffs for some shit like that. Just like if you were to drop somebody on their face if they're in handcuffs and in your custody, just like if a cop was to take, even if there was an alleged consensual encounter between a cop and a woman that was under arrest, she's still in the custody of the state. And it doesn't matter if she consented. She cannot give informed consent because she is currently in the custody of the state and the cop's going to get charged with a crime. Same with inmates in a prison. You know what I'm saying? The prisoner is in the custody of the state. If a prison guard sleeps with a prison inmate, that prison guard is going to get charged with an SO offense.
Statutory,
some type of statutory offense of some kind of weird assault. So,
right,
she's admitting to not understanding, but I absolutely understand that that's completely not okay.
Yeah, not legitimate. Yeah, it's coercion. Period.
Mm-hmm.
Like there is some amount of coercion.
We talked about the similar coercive nature of plea deals in the first Law and Order video, and it's all in the name of making good TV. But I'm not even really here to talk about Cops. It shouldn't surprise anyone that it's a biased show. I just had to lay out how bad Cops was so I could really drive home how much worse On Patrol :Live :PD actually is.
We'll do it live. Fuck it. Do it live. I'll write it and we'll do it live.
From 2016 to 2020, Live PD wasn't just a TV show on A&E. It was the TV show on A&E. By 2019, it was the most watched cable show on Fridays. Granted, that time slot is known as the Friday night death slot, but the show was raking in the ratings, tallying over 2.5 million viewers by its second season. In fact, A&E was so reliant on the show that when it canceled the series in 2020, fans boycotted the network, dropping their primetime viewership numbers by 49% in the following week. Kudos to A&E for taking that hit and sticking to their guns, although it should be noted that they still upload compilations and old clips of Live PD onto their YouTube channel, racking up millions of views, so they're still making money off the whole thing. If I had to guess, that's probably why they're suing for copyright infringement, not because of an ethical reason. The easiest way to describe Live PD is that it's Cops, but live.
Hi everyone, I'm Dan Abrams at our control center at A&E Network headquarters in New York City. We're watching more than 30 live cameras taking in action from all around the country. We're following police units in 6 states on this Friday night, the start of the Halloween weekend, which means the action could get hot and it could get dangerous.
Instead of pre-edited segments, the show broadcasts from a studio where host Dan Abrams directs our attention across some number of departments nationwide that they're following that night. We drop into these different locations at his discretion. When something gets kind of boring, he'll switch away to something else exciting and vice versa.
Back live, let's go right to Arizona. I'm told that Trooper Jacobs is on his way to a multi-car accident. There actually may be people trapped there.
Oh, and instead of 30-minute episodes, each episode is a 3-hour telecast. And there are new episodes on Fridays and Saturdays. So it's kind of like watching Requiem for a Dream and Grave of the Fireflies back to back, and then doing it again the next night, and then doing that every week for 52 weeks. And it's about as uplifting. But a major difference between Cops and On Patrol Live PD is the social and political environments that they arose from. Whereas Cops launched during the height of violent crime in America and channeled the tough on crime, law and order rhetoric that would define the 90s, Live PD entered the chat in a slightly different time, with the biggest conversations around crime and policing centered around the Black Lives Matter movement. And from the very beginning, the show positioned itself specifically as part of that conversation, with creator Dan Abrams telling The Hollywood Reporter, quote, Live PD is an extension to some degree of body cameras. There's an argument to be made that the public has a right to see how the people that they're paying to engage and lead law enforcement are doing their jobs. You have people who love law enforcement who are watching the show in one way, and people who distrust law enforcement potentially watching it in another. But I think that's all a good thing. If body cameras and our cameras lead to better policing, that's great. I mean, it would be great if it actually led to those things. For more about the broken promises of body cameras, check out my video on The Rookie. Executive producer John Zito echoed the same sentiment in an interview with Entertainment Weekly, saying, quote, we were taken off the air at the time because there was this belief that the show was copaganda and was too pro-law enforcement. But for people who watched the show, we felt that it was very much not the case. A lot of people who criticized the show had never actually seen the show before. We still feel that the show is that precise forum where these conversations are had about law enforcement in America. It's a pretty similar argument to the one from the creators of Cops, but there is a stylistic change in Live PD and On Patrol Live that really helps drive this point home. The idea that this is real, and that is that it's live.
We are live, so literally anything can happen. We don't know the beginning, we don't know the middle, and we don't know the end.
The walls of the set are plastered in footage pouring in from across the country, and the show loves to remind you that being live is kind of its thing.
Yeah, we're keeping an eye on our departments right now. We've got 42 cameras we're looking at coming in. We got lights flashing in at least 3 of them. What you are watching here is live police activity in Tulsa, Oklahoma. This is happening in real time. So we are seeing this and hearing this and figuring out what's happening as you are. Let's listen.
It is very curated and selected, but it's certainly sending the message very aggressively that it is live. Right? Like it's in the title.
You do distinctly get that vibe when you watch. But here's the dirty little secret about On Patrol Live PD. It's not really that live. If you go to the FAQ section of the On Patrol Live website, they describe the nature of the show this way. The show is filmed in real time and airs live. However, because of television standards and practices, like all live programming, there is a slight time delay to address the safety and security purposes outlined above. The delay can be as little as a few minutes or up to 20 to 30 minutes, depending on the circumstance. Any delay longer than that would be acknowledged on air as having occurred earlier. These earlier segments are always implied to have taken place earlier that night or that day.
As we keep an eye on our 9 live departments around the country, I want to show you something that happened recently in Fulton, California. Officers responded to a report of a possible break-in.
We're responding to a...
Basically what he's saying is when shit gets boring, they cut the live feed, cut to them at the studio, and then say, we're going to show you something that happened earlier. They don't tell you when earlier was. It could be earlier that week, earlier that month. And he explains
earlier that decade.
Right. He explains that they pretend like the whole show's live, but when shit gets boring, they'll cut to something that was recorded earlier that maybe wasn't live, and they'll splice that into the live stream and make it allude to it being recorded earlier that day where it's more interesting. Let's go to where there's a possible break-in. You know what I mean? Like, shit's getting boring. Let's cut to something more interesting. We got to keep the clicks and views going, guys.
True.
But yeah, that's about all I'm going to watch of that. There is significantly more left. I watched 25 minutes of this video, folks, and it's an hour and 20 minutes long, I believe. Yeah, an hour and 19 minutes, 47 seconds. And I would highly suggest that you go and watch it. I'll have it linked in the description and the pinned comment of this live stream when I end it. So if you're rewatching this after it's over, that's where you can find the link to this video on the channel. And the channel was called, what the fuck is it called? Skip Intro. Skip Intro. Let's put the channel back up here. There's the channel, Skip Intro. This is the channel. This dude's been doing like a copaganda series on the police and the media and how and he breaks a lot of stuff down. And as you have seen over the last 40 some minutes we've been live, he does a very good job at pointing all the stuff out. Like we're about to make a point and then we play it and he makes the same point. You know what I mean?
Right, exactly. Yeah, love that guy. He does good work. I'm definitely gonna check him out. I just click subscribe myself.
Yep, I'm subscribed to his channel. Definitely subscribe. See that subscribe button right there, folks. I'm subscribed to this channel. I watch his videos. I like it.
I got that link ready to put in my description after the live is over.
Yeah, Cops wasn't canceled. It just mutated. 3 more rights. Law and Order hates. How Law and Order distorts your rights. How Veronica Mars tackles the police. Veronica Mars is an old TV show. How to watch TV's most interesting show. The Rookie and why tech won't save policing. So, I mean, there's a lot of videos on this channel that go over the police, and he covers why certain shit happens, how the media is distorting your perception. I really like it. I just discovered this channel recently and started watching his stuff. So I figured I'd give you guys an introduction live to the channel since he did a damn good job of explaining it. He goes into way more detail. So that's why I'm suggesting you go finish watching the video at about, I don't know, what did we finish watching?
25 minutes.
25-minute mark. You can finish watching it after that.
Perfect. I'm going to do that. I got it saved. So,
yeah,
good stuff. Thanks, Skip Intro, for that. Definitely.
Yes, sir. Skip Intro. If you see this, if somebody says that DirectD was talking about you, I want you to know that I really like your coverage here. But I'll give a couple minutes for any questions in the chat. If you see any questions you want to respond to, Jim, feel free. Anything in the chat, doesn't have to be a question.
Auditing Erie County in the house. Yeah.
Yep. Erie County said he hit the thumbs up button, and I'm wondering if everybody else did that. If you watch this whole live stream, you're sitting here, there's been a consistent 300 people, then I would appreciate it if you could use the like button. It helps promote the video and the algorithm, and let other people be introduced to this, because they might not realize that they are being manipulated by some of their favorite TV show about cops. They might watch these TV shows and then only watch our kind of videos online and really have a distorted reality. That might be why we see people saying, you can't record me. You can't record me in public. All these stupid things that people say. And I seriously question where they get this crap at. Like, you have old people that are older than me, let's just say that, and I'm in my mid to late 30s, I'm headed towards 40. People older than me claiming that recording is a crime, making claims that certain things are a crime, and then assaulting you and then calling the police. You know what I'm saying? Like, where are they getting this shit at? Maybe this is where shit, shows like this, you know what I mean? Not shows like this, but shows like what he showed.
Right. I guarantee you it is at least a small portion of it, if not fully responsible. It fully, planted in their mind by shows like this. They probably, when they flare up like that, when they see somebody recording, it's like their mind scans that show and tries to think of situations that, oh, I swear I think I've seen a guy get arrested for this on one of them shows, man. I know this is illegal. Fuck you, blah, blah, blah. And then they just already you're convinced, and then they go into this rant, not knowing what they're talking about.
No. Not even I saw this on one of those shows. It must be illegal. It's the fact that it's called programming, dude. That you don't know what's happening. So you watch this show. The programming of the show says that what they just saw was normal. This person got arrested for this, and that's normal. So when they see it in reality, the programming tells them that what they're watching is normal. That's why they're like, "Why are you harassing the police? Why?" You know, they don't think about a TV show. It's just like desensitization to violence.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So the more often you see violent encounters, violent interactions, or you participate in violent things, the more desensitized to it, and it becomes an everyday part of life. That's similar to what they're doing with TV shows and police interactions. You show a bunch of shit of cops doing stuff they really shouldn't be legally, but frame it in a perspective that makes it seem like what's happening is completely legitimate, legal, and good. You know what I mean?
Right. That's where it's at, man.
But yeah, other than that, I'm gonna end the live stream. I'm gonna give it just a couple more minutes because I said some bad words to let the algorithm play out a little bit. But I appreciate everybody being here. If you haven't hit the subscribe and like button on this video and Jim Freedom's video or Jim Freedom's channel and my channel, then we should definitely make that happen. You know what I'm saying?
Do that in the next few minutes before we head out. Bill O'Wright 1791 in my channel earlier, he said, "Why the microphone look like a red popsicle?"
You like that?
He likes your new microphone, I think.
You like my new microphone?
Oh man, that's intense.
Does it sound better, you guys? Does the microphone sound more crisp? Does my voice sound better? Because that's what people recognize me by, not how I look. It's the sound of my voice.
Yeah. It even sounds good when you got real close like that. It sounded louder and deeper, but still clear. It's amazing. Good mic.
Nice. Somebody said nice shed. Yeah, I'm definitely not in a shed here.
No, for sure.
But yeah, appreciate you guys. This channel could be informative. You should definitely subscribe. And if you do subscribe, let them know that Jim Freedom and Direct D sent you.
Oh, yeah.
Later, folks. Have a good day.